Hi, friends. It's Sarah. This is an episode I'm calling a joy tune-up. It's for curbing multitasking as I multitask. It's for curbing multitasking, enhancing calmness and beauty. Another name for this episode was 1,000 points of light. And it's because there are so many touch points in our life that really infuse our life with richness and depth and joy. And we can add new influences. We can change our approach to our existing life. Everything in life is the same, but we just change our approach to those things. And then our entire life changes. Our whole experience of this life changes. And I think one important ingredient in that is when we draw a boundary around our focus and our attention. And I say that about being mentally two places at once. If you are a person who lives life mentally constantly in two places at once, meaning you're engaged with another group of people, let's say through your phone, while you are physically doing something else, your entire experience of your life is being altered by just that consistent habit. I have been personally affected by that. I've been living for the past many months. I was living in two places at once, and I was constantly uh rushing, always rushing. And I feel like my schedule just became automatically based on that lifestyle. I scheduled everything down to a minute. So everything was directed toward I can be more efficient. I can accomplish that. I can accomplish both of those things. Yes, I can do that and I can do that. So that is a life designed at the cost of myself. So I want to ask you if that sounds at all familiar, if it sounds like a problem that you might have. Because what I realized, I just got back from vacation. What I realized in the experience of my vacation is that that way of living altered my entire experience of existence. And it was at the cost of the depth of enjoyment of all moments, not just the moments spent multitasking. And that is because it just wires your MO. It wires your approach throughout your day. So this is an episode that's inspired by my vacation. I just returned and I'm living I was living my life without having to work four jobs while I was on vacation, and it was very enlightening. And one thing that I took away was like the day is so long. It's so spacious. It's so long. That is my most important observation. And how you relate to time, how you experience time, has a creative effect in your life and how you experience its sum. So, how you witness the world is directly created by your relationship to time. It also just it creates how you experience all the joyful moments in your life. So your level of enjoyment of the things you already enjoy is enhanced in it's almost like you have access to different feelers, when you're able to be in one place at a time all the time. So I'm inviting you to kick the world out of the room that is your mental life and just be in your own place at any given time. Um, fractured existence is superficial, and you owe it to your life to be able to be where you are. And I will say that like the thing I keep noticing is when I'm in my moments now, in one place at a time, my brain keeps saying, "Oh, this is for me." It's like I get to have this for me. And there's some version of multitasking all the time or being efficiency driven all the time that makes your life lived for everybody else. It's for them. It's for so they can be happy and they'll be proud of you. It's not for you. So we are negating ourselves and our own value by doing so. So the other thing I will say is if you are a creative person, multitasking just drills a hole in the bottom of the reservoir of your creative intuition and your creative voice. So the ability to improvise a song is completely decimated by multitasking. If that is at all important to you, I would say all the more reason. Let's start to like become singular in our life experience. So, all of that aside, what does a good life look like to you? What makes a life special? to you. One thing if you're in Europe right now, you can take in these compliments and just enjoy them. But one thing that strikes me is like different in Europe versus the US is like there is cultural time that is designated for just sitting in the sun, closing down shop, sitting in the sun, and just people watching and enjoying the outdoors. And I think everybody should do that. I think that should be built into all cultures. We don't have that in Los Angeles. It's way more. I have 5 more appointments I have to get to, and I'm going to stop at this place on the way to this place so I can make this meeting happen and this. Da, da, da. The other thing that struck me, so many gardens that are just designed for a sense of reverence and joy. So, anyway, this episode is really about boundary work and what you designate are the rules for life and how you approach life and how you move through life will create the flow of your life. It starts with you. It starts with you saying, these are the rules by which I move through life. And if you set the boundaries, like if you schedule the spaciousness for yourself, it exists. It makes it so. It's the trick is to see it as set in stone when it's set in stone by you, even if it's not in reality, because then it just is. It's like almost like we're taking our ability to control things out of the equation. We're just saying this is the way it must be. And after we do that, it's like time will expand. Time will accommodate you. It starts with your priorities. So with that, there are 3 parts: the what, the why, and the how, the tools. Part 1, the what. Life experiences on a daily basis that bring you joy and bring you pleasure, and also your ability to be in those experiences versus being fractured by split focus. So let me ask you, like, what do you have in your life currently that brings you a sense of satisfaction or titillation, and how do you move through your life currently? Like, what is the energy you're moving through life with? Is it a sense of time unfolds for me? Or is it more of like a hurry, hurry, I need to catch up? How often do you say hurry? And I think when we can sit back in the seat of our lives, it's joy starts to kind of be curated outside of us. And it's almost like our perspective of life becomes life is happening for me. It's like there's this perspective that changes to a feeling of enoughness. It's like a surprise and delight at all that is before us, that we start to recognize it for the first time. It's like there's some ability to appreciate it when you have a sense, a felt sense of there's plenty of time. It's like the energy of there's plenty of time allows us to see more beauty. Hope that made sense. Part 2, the why. I think when we get into the rhythm or the energy of hurry, keep going, I need to do blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. We basically are going unconscious. Like we're being kind of encoded or propulsed by our devices or our schedule or external demands. And some part of us goes unconscious, and then that unconscious belief or habit starts to perpetuate itself and guide us to do more of it. It's because it's rewarded. It's culturally rewarded. And work will reward that too. And the more we get rewarded, the more we're like, I got to keep doing that. I got to keep doing that. I know for myself that it's my habit is to be busy. My like default setting is to be busy and to write a longer to-do list. That is what I'm constantly fighting against. One of the reasons I married my husband, or I was so attracted to my husband, is because he is a very different type of person, and that he is very comfortable with the spaciousness of no schedule and that the slowness of spontaneity. And I thought to myself, oh, this will help me curb my flexed muscle approach to life. If left unattended, I default to hurry, check more boxes, check more boxes. I got to do this, 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 this. Oh, I can do this if I do it twice, you know? So all of us, regardless of if you're like me or not, we all have to constantly correct just become conscious of our habits and correct them and reset boundaries around what needs to change. And that is just part of living a conscious life. It's not bad. It is a practice like a meditation. It's like redesigning, a sand garden every day. We're starting anew every day. We just check in with where we are in our life. We step back, we redirect, and we set boundaries around what needs to change. But to do that, first, we have to become conscious. One thing I want to emphasize, everything you interact with in your life has an energetic presence and it creates your felt experience. So, not to harp on my vacation, but environments in England are designed for enjoyment and beauty. And, there's a lot of time spent with like a ritual of an afternoon snack, like tea. These are things that are built into the culture by many, many, many centuries. Also things like refinement, decoration, legacy, art, all of these things that are kind of like infused from centuries, this fabric that is based in royalty and worship and craft and refinery, all of those things are additive to your experience of the world. Just being around beautiful things changes your felt experience and the breadth of the world. And also things like decorum. I know like acting proper to a lot of people is like oppressive, but I think there are also benefits to things like decorum energetically. Like, what is the value of something like decorum? If we're just looking at it from what it can bring, it's like you can see it as similar to play in that we are practicing some sort of like ritual performance. It's like a social act that gives us a sense of reverence for this other norm. It's like it is a ritual. And it's this honor and respect for a specific moment in a day or a social experience in a day. So it's kind of like a in itself, having afternoon tea is like a social boundary or a rhythm that can invite a feeling of presence, closeness, celebration, honor, reverence, specialness. And I think that there's a lot to be gained from places and moments where things can be deliberate and special. So I'm just throwing that out there because I have tools for things like this in particular. All in all, I think having beautiful objects, beautiful spaces and practices, objects in our life, they really infuse our psyche and our spirit. And they just add to the hotness of the flame that is our vibrance. And I think, that's why I think if you happen to do creative work or dream work, visuals are really important to having like artful imagery on your walls, objects that feel sacred to you. A lot of people design altars in their homes. These are all things that bring about a reaction, a reverence, a feeling, a connection point. In my opinion, design or beauty is God. It is one and the same. Harmony, all of them are kind of, I don't know if you know what the golden mean is. When I was in art in college in art history, learning about the golden mean, which is this golden proportion that is inherent in all natural objects, the human face, seashells, that I was like, oh, there's a perfect order in nature. God does exist. I believe it now. Just thinking about things like that, when we have connection to beauty, I think we're having a connection to God or whatever word doesn't trigger you. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. Before I go any further, I just wanted to invite you to scan your environment and also the places that you frequent daily, as well as the practices you have in your life. And just scan for, do I have what is divine to me present in my life? Like, what is holy that had presence in your life as a child? Like, what is one thing that you could bring back in one small way? Maybe it was a particular form of plant or garden. Maybe it was a place that had a sense of reverence and awe. I think gardens have such an amazing kind of grounding physical or spiritual presence for us because it gives us like a reminder of all of this higher divinity. talking a lot about like divine stuff right now. Anyway, the beauty and energy of plants is powerful. So, with this episode, what I'm doing is inviting a curation or focus on an experience of beauty in your day to day and in your lifestyle and how you approach your life, which brings me to part three, the how, the tools. But first, a brief word from our sponsors. Check, 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 check. All right, part three, the how, the tools. The first tool I'm calling time slow or just fold the laundry. And this is a boundary setting assignment. There's a Zen principle of everybody or everything you do in a day can be a moving meditation if you can just do the thing you're doing at any given time. So, one thing I wanted to invite you to start to do is set boundaries around all things in your day, meaning allot the time needed for every single thing you do in your day so that you can just be allowed to be doing that thing at one given time, mentally in one place at a time. And so, what that might mean for you is I'm going to try and not watch a movie at the same time as I'm checking my email or social media. I'm going to stop texting people or writing a grocery list while I'm spending time with my children. I'm just inviting you to be conscious around these things and see how it feels. And if you're trying for the first time, know that there's going to be inner resistance because there's this internal draw that is that the flexed muscle of efficiency that's saying like, no, I got to get these gushes in my brain chemicals from checking more boxes. Like, no, 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 I got to get these like little hits. What we are changing here is our priority for our life. So, second in this tool, I want to ask you, what is your one sentence description of what your priority is for your life experience? For example, I want to live my life from a position of the highest quality experience and not a position of efficiency. Or I want to live my life from a sense of presence and awe, not feeling rushed. It could be something simple. And then know that whatever that priority is, it will directly affect the life you choose to lead. It has an immediate effect just knowing what it is you want for yourself. It's like once we know what it is, we step back from all the ingredients. It's like we have to kind of like resist the the current muscle memory. The quality of energy is what we're trying to curate here. And then the second half of this tool is really just to start to book your time according to what the time will be the most comfortable for you. Because I think we add the layer of immediacy that is not necessary. Like if someone asks you, "Hey, can you do this appointment?" Your body might say like, "Oh yeah, I can fit that in tomorrow." But if you don't have to, there's nothing that's going to be lost. Just do that the next day. Do it when you have nothing else on your schedule. Take the extra time. Nothing will be lost. And know that if you allow yourself plenty of time to do all the things and move through time without being rushed, it changes how you experience everything, all things. We're not just affecting the hours in the schedule, we're affecting the experience of all things in your life. And know that even if you have this like inner sense of pressure, like I have a built-in sense of like, but I'm gonna be behind, but they're gonna be mad, but they're gonna need whatever the thing is that pushes me to like overbook. When you start to set the boundary, then we step back from what it means and we just let it go. It's out of your control. Like once the boundary is set around time, it is what it is. It's not good or bad. Like, for example, you're going to go to a doctor's appointment and you're just going to be at the doctor's appointment only for that time. At the end of the day, people might want to reach you. People might be like, where is that person? But you've set the boundary. You walk away. Everything will be fine. Everything will get done exactly as well as it needs to. The only thing that's changing is your perception of what that means. That is what we're really targeting and working on. All right. Next tool, make believe. This is a silly one. I wanted to invite you to have your version of a tea party, whatever one that makes more sense to you. I personally used to throw tea parties for my aunt when I was a kid, and they were magical because of the joy that it brought my aunt. But this tool is not literally to throw a tea party. What is an event you can host for yourself that is not necessary, but is enjoyable for yourself and maybe a friend? Maybe it's something like dining al fresco. Maybe it's you're going to cook a 3-course brunch for yourself. Maybe you're going to do a yoga routine with a sound bath and light incense. Whatever it is, I just want you to think of some sort of practice that takes an experience from something ordinary to something more rich, more enjoyable, and plan it out to the fullest. All right, next tool, 1,000 points of joy, a filter. One thing I wanted to just put into your mind's eye as a filter to approach your entire life is let's really affect everything in your being and rise above what I'm calling Kroger brand instant soup. And by that, I mean, ask of all things in your life, does it or does it not bring me joy? And if so, what is its value? All of the things in your life, when you are moving through them, instead of asking like, oh, is it on sale? Can I get this done in time? Can I do this? Is this convenient? Ask instead, what is this value when it brings me joy? Does this thing bring me joy or does it not? And I think that when we shift our lens toward a grander sense of things bringing value into our life, your life just grows more vast, but it starts with just a simple intention. The old name of my blog when I wrote for Hello Giggles was Teaspoon of Happy. And that was like this idea of this life is a recipe, and we can affect it by just adding little teaspoons of things to our day. And I stand by that. But one thing I think you can change is just the priority of like what will actually bring me more joy. Um, One thing for me recently I realized is like I have these like beautiful soaps in our kitchen that are just like they smell really good. And for a minute I was like, I should really just be buying that clear dial stuff that's like so cheap. And then I was like, well, that will make me kind of sad though. This is one thing that's for me personally a point of joy. It literally brings me joy to smell the soap when I'm doing dishes, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, that values wise, I should keep the fancy and good smelling soap because this thing in particular enhances my life experience. Case by case, I think just inviting you to use that filter. All right, next tool, U minus blank. I think so much of what we suffer from is conditional based on an individual factor in our life. And I just wanted to invite you to reflect on this, maybe in your journal. What would be one thing in your life that could be that factor? Like, what is the me minus blank thing? And how could you facilitate experiencing life without that thing, just for a temporary amount of time, just to see how it affects you? For example, I think with relationships, if you remove one factor in a relationship, like work stress, all of the relationship problems go away. And I think it's just something to entertain when it comes to your own personal life satisfaction. What's the one thing if I removed it, all of the other problems would go away? Food for thought. All right. Next tool, mental divining rod. This is just for letting go and knowing that there's a perfect answer. I think this will often come down to very subtle shades of gray, but one way to improve things in your life is like there will be a correct answer, a pure and correct answer to all what should I do questions. And our job is just to step back and welcome it to appear. It's like for like even little things. Like if you have ambivalence around like, well, should I go to that movie? Or is it better if I stay in and I work on this project that I really have to work on? If you just step back and know that like there's kind of like two textures or two energies for what feels better to you, what feels more rewarding to you, eventually it'll come forth. Eventually there's a thing that kind of fits the shape of, no, that feels right. Throwing that out in case it helps. All right, next tool. This is a little bit unrelated to the vibe so far, but I wanted to keep it in here because it's really about bringing color to your person, but it's called building up your armada. It's like a me booster. This is for enhancing your felt sense of identity. I want you to think of your person as the sum of all that you have access to. And that is your breadth as a person. It's not just you, it's every person who loves you, every person and experience you have ever interacted with. It's every cool story you've ever heard, every new cool thing you've read about, every image you've ever seen, every place you've ever walked by, every place you've ever appreciated. So I just want you to grow into this definition and claim it. That is who you are. It's not just like the actual things you have done. Your secret weapons are all the things that you appreciate, all the people that stand behind you. And you should always play all of your cards and hold none back. And by that, I mean how you identify and your own PR, the way you talk about yourself, the way you present yourself, the way you push yourself out into the world, really own all of that as you, as the sum of you. And own all of your connections. Really think of your energy as a being, as every point of contact that you have. That is your resume. As a teenager, your first resume will be literally a combination of all the people who love you and have helped you to build up a sense of a bigger self. So same goes for being an adult. All right. The next tool, solving for blank, or you get what you pay for. This is just a weird one. It's kind of similar to one of the other tools, but one thing that struck me is when we really think about value in terms of what it should cost and what it deserves to cost and what it deserves, how much time it deserves to take based on its best outcome, based on the most pure, positive, effective outcome, how we select things changes. So, for example, when you are shopping or when you are making a decision, I invite you to ask, what should this thing really be for it to be the best and most beneficial in my life and or the life of others? Instead of, like, I think one thing that we constantly do is we ask, how can I get it for less? How can I be the most aggressive? How can I get by? How can I do it for the least amount of time? It's like we're constantly trying to squeeze more out of things. But when we change our value scale away from that, and it's not about efficiency, it's not about less money, it's not about cheating the thing, milking it for something else. Instead, we are the primary uh, value we are gauging it based off of is greatness, greatest value of enjoyment, of level of excellence, of love experienced, of impact on self, of what that thing should cost. Everything, our experience of the thing changes, and also the value we get out of the thing changes exponentially. Example for you. We were talking about my vacation again. We were at a hotel that was not ideal. I didn't love it, didn't like the location. And then I ended up getting a much fancier hotel for one night. And what happened is that hotel was so much better. We got so much free everything from it. The service was so much better. The pampering was so much, the value came back exponentially because the thing I had chosen was just I want the best product. I want to have the best product. That's an elitist example. I'm hoping that translates to something more practical. Other example that might not relate to you in any way, but I'm going to throw it out there as well. I recently worked with a very, very good director. I am a director myself. And one thing I learned from watching this person work is when you approach a project, you think, what could create the best possible version of this film? What do I need to cover? What do I need to shoot to make the best possible version of this story? That perspective will create a better outcome. My perspective in the past has been like, what can I do for cheap? What can I fake? What can I fit into this? Because it's like my energy has been guided by things that are not aligned with value. So, those two examples are my way of saying, I invite you to ask of your life, what will bring me the greatest value? And if that means like, I'm going to wait another year to take a vacation because I really want to have this perfect thing. I don't want to have the second, compromised, rushed version of the thing. I just think it changes how we approach everything. What should the thing really be? Okay. Next couple of tools, I have some journal prompts for you. Um, Different areas. First tool, diagnose my chronic life problem. This is a journal exercise. Um, I think we all have kind of like karmically what we're trying to work out in our lives. We probably know what the thing is. So I want to invite you to journal, like, what is your karmic problem to overcome? What is the thing that you constantly need to let go of? And what is the thing you're working on? Like, I think for a lot of people, it's a feeling of um, lack of enoughness. Like I'm constantly trying to prove my value, that kind of thing. For me, it's chronic busyness, like a feeling of scarcity. That's a constant kind of theme. Next journal prompt, what qualities do I savor or I used to love? This is a list of things that you just enjoy. For me, it's creation, the act of creation, working on things I'm passionate about, peacefulness, beauty, being in beautiful places. Also, what were things that you used to love and as a kid? And this is just a good map for how to bring more joy in your life. Things that you used to do and get joy from are still present in your person. And when we can bring some of those back, it's just like we remember a part of ourselves. All right. And then the next journal prompt, I invite you to do some journaling around what another version of your future looks like that is much more grand. Like, what is the most preposterous version of your future? And and I mean like beyond what you ever thought could be possible. Um, and that is just hard for us to imagine in general. I think we're so used to seeing what's like right in front of us. It really takes being creative and exploring the ideas to get ourselves to aim higher. And the next tool is somewhat related. Expect the no filter. There's a part of us, as soon as we set a goal that's way too high, we get an immediate feeling of discomfort and negativity. It's like our body, it doesn't fit yet, and our body wants to reject it. And so some part of our body will immediately say, but oh no, I actually don't want that at all. No, that doesn't sound fun at all. Just expect that and continue to push yourself to claim higher and higher goals. It's like you need to even just start to dream bigger for you to even know that you would love this thing that's so far off. You would totally love it. You just have to allow yourself the practice of visualizing it and knowing that that's a realistic outcome for your life. All right. The next tool is sort of a weird one, but I invite you, it's called mapping what you're capable of. This is an assignment to just broaden out the awareness you have of your own abilities. Whatever you think are your abilities, I would guess it's at least triple that. You are capable of so much. In modern civilization, we don't get many opportunities to stretch ourselves. But when you think about moving your body toward a goal, we set the goals too low often. And when we are tested in situations of like survival, you can really witness what you're capable of. But outside of that, as I said, you're only seeing what's in front of you. So this is a good tool also if you're feeling in a rut or if you're slightly depressed. The goal or the tool is I want you to try to do fill in the blank thing, but harder, higher, farther than you ever have before. Whatever that thing is that feels right for you. The most complicated recipe you have ever cooked, the longest hike you have ever taken, the longest you have ever run for. Um, whatever the thing is, trying something you have never tried before and then getting proficient at it, I think is the greatest way to understand, remember your own sense of agency. And what we're shopping for here is that feeling of accomplishment to say, yes, I can do that. I can do many things. I can do it. It's just like a reset button for all these other areas of life. And from that point, we can think more broadly about what we choose to do in our life at large. So don't get hurt, just an invitation. And those are my tools. Before I close, I wanted to thank my latest sponsors. Thank you for everyone who supports the show. If you have the means, donations really help. You can head to yaywithme.com and click donate. And if you don't have the means, totally understand. If you could share it with someone, it could help. That helps me as well. In closing, life, many moons, many highs, many lows, many plateaus. And just remember to ride those and expect them and not react to them when you're in the lows and know that they average out in the end. Uh, we just have to really what we can do is change how we relate to all of those things, change how we respond energetically to lows. If we can just witness, become that silent witness and not become invested in what those things mean, you can change everything about your life. You can change everything about your life just by changing yourself, just by changing your own energetic perspective. So I hope this episode is helpful. I send you my love and don't forget to smile.